Hi guys, this video is going to walk you through how to duplicate plaid to have it printed on textiles. And so this is something, I'll show you a couple of different methods. One that doesn't really come across as looking like a twill, and then another where you can add that twill effect if you would like. But please remember this is a digital print that you would put on fabric. And there's been some really beautiful silk that has been printed with plaid. That I've seen come down the runway. It's just gorgeous stuff. But this isn't showing you how to weave plaid. What this is showing you is how to duplicate or replicate plaid into a textile print. So here we go. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to start here in the middle. And if you see here, let me do this, is that we have rulers here. And if you don't have your rulers, if you hit Command R, and then or Control on a PC, Command R again, that's how you can go back and forth between your rulers. And so I have set up a document that is 5 by 5 inches at 300 resolution. And so I'm going to start, and you can just randomly put lines all over this and make a novelty plaid, but I'm going to start with mine just kind of centered in the middle. So right here, 2.5, and I want to make an inch stripe. So I'm going to pull this down. And please, this is just what I'm doing. You do your own thing and make it the size that you want. I'm going to come over here just and grab that. So what it's done in my libraries, it's taken this color. If you don't have your libraries full, then just go over here and choose the color you want. You know how to do that. So now what I'm going to do is either you can do Edit, Fill, but I'm going to do the shortcut on the Mac, which is Shift-Delete. This will come up. Last thing I was working with pattern, so I'm going to come back here and do foreground color and hit OK. And I have my first. So now what I'm going to do after that is perhaps hit Command D to deselect. And then maybe I want to come over here and have a stripe that's 1/4 inch. So right here. And I like to shoot way above to make sure there are no white spaces at the top or the bottom. And I'm also using, as you can see, this ruler up here to dictate how big these are. So on this one, maybe I'll grab this color and then fill with the foreground color as well. And then I can go over here maybe and do a smaller one. Let's see, and get the size of that. Or maybe I'll actually make this a little larger. Maybe I'll go to here. And so I'll do that on this one, and then maybe put this color, and then fill with the foreground color, and so on. And so you can go ahead and stripe it. Now, if you wanted to take this one and duplicate the exact same stripe, and then you could, and you can move it over here, you could do that, but realize every time you do that, if I'm going to go grab my magic wand and then select this stripe, then what I'm going to do is copy it and paste it. It's going to go on its own layer. So just please be aware of that. So if I paste it, this is what's going to happen. And so, but let's do it. And then I'm going to move it over here. And then maybe I'll do the same thing with this one. Oops, not on that, sorry, Command D, go back to this layer. And then with that, select this one, Command C, which is copy, Command V, which is paste, and it's going to put it on its own layer, so you've got to remember that because you're going to need to put them all on the same layer when you're done. And so I can see over here that on this one, it ends 1/2 inch from the edge, so I'm going to take the one I copied and make sure that it ends. So there it is, and it's going to be 1/2 inch. There we go. And so now I have these as well, and then if you wanted to add another one, you certainly could. I think what I might add here is this one needs to come in a little more here. Grab this one, and so there we go. Just need to Get them measured up like they are over there. Okay, so I have this one and they're symmetrical. Yours does not have to be symmetrical. You can just randomly put the sizes that you want. What I think I might do though is back here on the original, take this and maybe a really thin black line. I'm going to add a black line in here. And so I'm going to go over here. I want it to be black. So I'm going to use my default and then click on that and it goes back to black. Like Amy Winehouse, right? Copy, paste. It's going on another layer, don't forget. And then so I'm going to pull it over here and line it up. I'm using my rulers. And there we go. So if I go back here, they're not all on this layer anymore because I did copy. If you don't copy and paste, you won't have to worry about it. Everything will be on this layer. But it's very easy to get everything down. So I've got 3 layers above that I need to combine with this one. So all you do is you go to Layer, which makes sense, and then hit Merge Visible. So they're all visible, and I want them all merged, or the shortcut is Command-Shift-E, but hit Merge Visible, and you'll see they're all back to one layer. So we have our first one. The next thing I'm going to do is I need to duplicate this actual layer itself. So I'm just going to hold the Alt key and then drag that layer up. First, I'm going to unlock it. Now I'm going to hold the Alt key and drag it up and make a copy. So what you have now are 2 layers, and they're both vertical. So we want to take the top one, and we want to turn that one horizontal. So to do that, you can hit Command-T, which is transform, and you can do it by hand. Just once you go over here in the corner and you see how that arrow just kind of rounds out, click, drag, rotate, and then as you come towards the end, hit the Shift key, and it'll straighten it right up to a 90-degree angle for you. Hit return, and now you have a horizontal layer on top of your vertical layer. So at this point, there's one way to make plaid that a lot of people will do, and you go on the top layer, and you go up to the opacity, and you knock the opacity down, and there it is, and voila, magic. And you can play around with kind of the opacity and how dark it is. I'm going to bring mine up just a little like this. Keep it here if this is something that you like and you want to use it as a pattern and to define it later as a pattern. What you do now is go to Edit, and then you're going to hit Define as Pattern, and then let's say olive, pink, plaid. Give it a name. So there it is. I hit OK. And now what it's done is it's gone into my pattern in my Photoshop memory, and so now I can fill something later on with that pattern. So I'm going to test this pattern out. So knowing that this is a 5x5, I want to see it repeat itself at least 3 times. So to test this, I'm going to do File, New, and instead of, let's do inches. So instead of 5x5, I'm going to do 15 inches by 15 inches. So if I were to print this, that's what I would get, a 15 by 15 document on paper or on fabric. And if I set it up for 15 by 15, and so now what I'm going to do is Edit, Fill, and we've been playing with foreground colors, so go to Pattern, and then right here is the last one I made, so I'm going to hit OK, and that's what it would look like if you fill it into something else. So this way you can see if you have any glitches or hiccups, and you can go back into the original, which is this key piece, and make any changes, because this is all you need. This is the gold. This is the key, and this is what repeats on itself seamlessly until, like I said, 100 yards, 200 yards, however much you want to do. If you're working on a computer on campus, what ends up happening after you sign out of your network, when you go back to reboot, it wipes itself clean. So please also save this for the future to use it again as an open PSD file. So just file, save, keep it on your network or keep it wherever you're storing your work. That way when you come back to a school computer, all you have to do is open it up like this and then go to Edit, define his pattern again, and then put it back into the school computer and use it again. And then that way you'll always have it. Because if you're working on your own computer from home or your laptop, it'll stay in your Photoshop until you delete it. But if you're on the school computers, you need to make certain every time you go to the school computer and you want to use this textile design that you reopen it and then redefine it as a pattern. Very easy. So you've got it. So what I'm going to do, that's one way. The next way I'm going to show you is I'm going to go back to this top layer and take it back to 100%. And now I have this. And so with this, I'm going to show you a technique where you can actually kind of make it look like twill. So what we need now is a new file. So we've got to go make the twill to put on top of this, and really easily done. So if it's on inches, make sure it's on pixels. So the first thing to do is put it on pixels. And we're going to make a 4 pixel by 4 pixel document. This is very important here. We are at 300. On this, make it 100 resolution. Not 300, but 100 for these pixels. And then also very important, put on a transparent background. And often you'll do this and you're like, well, I don't see transparent. Just keep scrolling down and you'll see it. Sometimes it gets buried where it cuts off. So there's transparent, double check. 4 pixels, 100 resolution, transparent, and if you got it, hit create. And there it is, this tiny little thing in here. So what we're going to do is we need to zoom in on that. I'm going to hit Z, come on top of it, and drag it until I can't anymore. That's as much as it can zoom, and if you look down here, it's at 12,800%. So that's quite a zoom we have. Now what we need to do is use the pencil tool. The pencil tool is over here. And it will also be under the brush tool if you haven't used it. So you'll see the brush, so click and hold and pull your pencil tool out, and you have that. And make sure, if you still have a color, like let's say I had this over there from the last thing I did, if it still looks like this, just go up here and right above it will always set you back to the white and black default. And so make sure the black is on top of the white, and that means that this is the foreground color. And this is how you toggle back and forth between that if it isn't. So black's here, come over here, and what we're going to do is just kind of use it like a stamp. So one here, one here, one here, and here, and here, and then one right underneath it. All right? So this is going to be a twill pattern that'll run across your document. But what we need to do now is we need to open it up so it will actually, or divide it so it will be seamless and repeat on itself. Right now, if we were to define this as a pattern, it's going to be just a bunch of these boxes that come together. Instead of it being seamless diagonal twill, it's going to be a bunch of squares with this in it. So what we need to do is called offset. And offsetting something in textile design, basically, oh, sorry. Big heavy car went by. So what this happens is it actually splits it down the middle, and then it's going to split it this way and then flip them. So all of what's on the inside will be on the outside, and then when you repeat it over and over again, it makes this diagonal seamlessly instead of a bunch of little grids. So this is how you do this. Is I'm going to go up to filter and other. You get to use other. And come over here and offset. So filter, other, offset, click offset. Yours should be at 0, and it should look like this. I'll put mine back so it looks like what we drew. What we need to do, since this is 4 pixels by 4 pixels, I'm going to let the computer split it for me beautifully and the way it needs to be done. So I'm going to half my horizontal, which is 2 pixels because it's a 4 pixel document. So I'm going to say horizontal 2 pixels, vertical 2 pixels, and there it is. So it has been split. And so now when this square repeats, this part down here will go up here, this part up here will go up here, and then it will just endlessly and seamlessly repeat on top of itself. So now that we have this very easily done, is we go back to edit, we define this as a pattern, and twill, hit OK. We have it, and so we no longer need it, so I'm going to go over here. Now what I'm going to do is put the twill on top of these. So I'm going to add one more layer, so add a layer, And there it is. Click on that layer, make sure you're on it, and then edit, fill, and this time when you hit pattern, if it's not on pattern, put it to pattern, this time go in here and find the twill pattern that you made. So I'm going to find that, click on it, hit OK, and you can see, I'll zoom in a little, you can see there's the twill pattern going across. So we've got this running across our document. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this twill pattern as a shape because it's on transparent background. So I'm going to select all of this very easily. If you are on a Mac, you'll hit Command. If you are on a PC, you'll hit Control. So what you're going to do is go on top of this layer and click on the image while you hit Control or Command. Don't click over here. Click on the image, so hold Command and then click right on the image and see what happens. You can see all the marching ants, and as you know now, that means that it's selected. Okay, we don't need this anymore. I just needed to select that shape, so I'm going to just turn off the eyeball, or you can delete it completely. Sometimes when you're first learning, that's a little frightening in case something goes wrong, so you want to keep it, you just turn the eyeball off. Totally get it. So now I'm going to come down here on that layer, and now what I'm going to do is hit delete. And what it did is it took what we copied from here, and on this layer it deleted that shape out, and then it exposed the vertical that was underneath. So now all we do is hit Command D to deselect, and now you have Plaid again, and if you zoom in a little, now you can see that kind of twill effect. It's pretty awesome, huh? And so I'm going to go back to Command 0 to do it like this, and then like I said, if this is something you're happy with, now you can do the same thing, edit, define it as a pattern, and hit OK. We have to give it some fancy name right now. And then you have it to put onto your boards. And so for your assignment, I've asked you to fill the boards with your repeat patterns so I can see them. And so you're going to make a board that is File, New, and make sure it's back to inches. And I believe I've asked them to be 14 by 11. And if some chance that is not what I asked, I feel it is, but I don't have the document open in front of me, please, whatever I wrote, make it that size document. But I'm going to run with this. Make sure it's back at 300. If it's still at 100, white, create. And then now what you're going to do is edit, fill, go to my Plaid I just made. This is the one that has the twill effect. Hit OK. And now what you're going to do is you're going to export this. So you can do a file, export, and then you can do it as a PNG. You can go over here, export as, and you've got it over here if you would like. You can export it as a JPEG, or what you can do is very easily, like I said, if you are wanting to save this to use in the future, then save it as a PSD, but to turn into me, you can just do something as simple as save as. After you've saved the original, first save the original as a PSD file to put into your network or to put onto your flash drive or wherever you're saving your work. Once you've saved a PSD file or a Photoshop file, then what you're going to do is come back and do save as. So I'll do this for you so it doesn't confuse anyone. Save first, Photoshop, save it to my desktop. Now I have the open Photoshop file if I ever need it. Now what I'm going to do now is come back here and actually I want the same thing with that one. I want to save this one because it's the 5x5 one. Okay, so that was the one. I don't need that one that large. I just realized I was on my test print on my 11 by 14 board. But and so if you can go back and do this, so file, save, and then name it, desktop, Photoshop, save, OK. And then now what I'm going to do is file, save as, and then this is where you can come through here. If you want to do a Photoshop PDF, you can, but I don't need one that large. What you're going to do is you can save it as a JPEG, and you can combine all your JPEGs into one PDF. So then hit JPEG, save, keep it on low. I don't need a large one. I've done a video for you already showing you the difference in file sizes in one of the videos this semester to help you understand why you can do it down here and turn it into me. It will relieve your stress of it not fitting or uploading to eCourseware. So please keep that in mind too. So I'm going to hit OK. And now I have it. So I have both on my desktop. So if you come here, here they are. Here's the JPEG. Here's the PSD. I also have the PSD of the entire board that I made. So it's all right here for you. So hopefully this will help anybody who is trying to create a plaid or a striped textile design to put in for the repeat. I think we're doing 5 textile repeat patterns. So hopefully, if someone is interested, that this will help you. Okay, bye.